What's going on, everyone? So the Sacramento Kings are horrible, and I don't think that that's a surprise or shocker to anybody. I think everyone kind of expected them to be horrible. I don't know what Sacramento was doing, right? Even last year, like they just decided, like it's so frustrating to me watching teams that have so much promise and look like they could, be a contender if they just make a couple key moves and they just sabotage themselves. It's crazy. Like it's not that long ago. Sacramento was the 2 seed, lost in a tough 7 to the defending champion Golden State Warriors. And then on top of that was literally they were 2-3 ND wins away from being probably the best team in basketball. Right? Like genuinely, they might have won an NBA championship. They were really good. They had one of the best offenses. They had a decent defense, but they really needed kind of that because they had a lot of one-dimensional guys. They really needed badly two-way guys. If instead of the Knicks, the Kings put all of their resources and everything and all their picks and basically sold the farm on Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, and they brought those two to Sacramento, Sacramento probably has an NBA championship. They were great. De'Aaron Fox, Sabonis, all of that, right? And they just decided, you know what we need? We need to lean more heavily into the offensive firepower, and then sold De'Aaron Fox for a bag of chips and just doubled down on the on the offensive firepower, and then we're shocked that they're terrible. It's I could have told you that. What were you thinking? It's so frustrating watching teams do that. But this is a Laker channel. Right? Why am I talking about Sacramento on a Laker channel? And it's because reports have came out that the Sacramento Kings are preparing to essentially have a fire sale, that they're ready to just tear it down, restart, rebuild, and basically everybody is for sale. Now, this is according to Carmichael Dave. The Kings are reportedly gearing up for a full rebuild and plan to explore trades for Zach LaVine, Domantas Sabonis, DeMar DeRozan, and others, again, per Carmichael David. Carmichael Dave. So essentially, Sacramento is nobody's not available, right? Now, there isn't really a ton of guys on Sacramento that if I'm the Lakers, I'm gearing up to go get or sign personally, right? There's not a bunch of guys that I want to get. And I know somebody's going to say, you're a big Zach LaVine guy. Again, I've said this on several occasions. I've explained it, right? Zach LaVine made all the sense in the world when you didn't have Luka Doncic, because the Lakers desperately needed somebody that could shoot over the top, play off ball, and be a consistent offensive weapon. But when he didn't have the ball in his hands, be an excellent catch and shoot 3-point shooter off of LeBron and Anthony Davis. Zach LaVine at the time was the best in all of those categories, right? Zach LaVine made all the sense in the world for Anthony Davis and LeBron James. But the moment we got Luka Doncic, I said, because people asked, do you still want Zach LaVine now that we got Luka? And I said, absolutely not. It doesn't make sense anymore, right? It made sense previously because we didn't have anybody like that. Guess who is like that, but better? Luka Doncic, right? So we're in good shape. And Austin Reeves has actually became that guy too. So no, I don't want Zach LaVine. I love Zach LaVine. If Zach LaVine was to get bought out and he's willing to take a bench role, sign me up, bring him in, right? Same thing with even a DeMar DeRozan. If DeMar DeRozan's hey, I'll play a 6-man role and he gets bought out, sure, bring him in, right? We could use the scoring off the bench. But the only guys that I'd genuinely consider bringing in, I would probably pay a pretty penny to get Keon Ellis. Because, he could slot in at your 3 if you needed to. He's a little undersized because he's not 6'7", 6'8". You're talking about a guy that he's 6'4", right? Maybe 6'5" if you want to be generous. It's really closer to 6'4". But he is just such a good, just on-ball defensive guy. He's a guy that would be ideal slotted next to Luka Doncic, slotted next to Austin Reeves. Guy, whether you start him, bring him off the bench, whatever. Keon Ellis is the guy that I would, if I'm the Lakers, heavily target and at least be in the ear of. He's I believe, an unrestricted free agent, but Sacramento can pay him more than anyone else, right? So they can give him the extra year and all that stuff. Does Keon really care, especially if he's not getting a max, right? would he be willing to kind of maybe nudge towards the Lakers a little bit? Like, hey, if you're tearing it down, go and trade me, to the Lakers. But if I'm the Lakers, he's somebody I am absolutely like, whatever you got to give up. Because the thing is too, it's not just that he's exactly what this team needs. Athletic, defensive, two-way, 3-and-D style guy, but he's also 25 years old. So he's a guy that, and he'll be 26 in January, but he's a guy that you would have for now and the future, right? He'd just be another piece, another building block that you'd add to this young core and foundation that can be a positive player that can come in, play at a high level, defend, knock down the three ball, create a little bit for himself, create a little bit for others, right? He's a guy that would just be ideal, again, next to Luka and Austin Reeves, especially if those two really are going to be your backcourt for the future, right? Like, which, I mean, they look every bit the part, but I'm just saying, like, unless something changes, right? Like, Keon Ellis, one, gives you that insurance because you can slot him in at your starting two, but it also gives you that guy that you could slot in at your starting three at times, or just bring him off the bench as that, kind of two-way guy alongside Luka and Austin Reeves. So like Reeves goes to the bench, you bring in Keon Ellis, slot in, be that point of attack, versatile defensive guy alongside Luka Doncic. Same thing with Austin Reeves. Luka goes to the bench, you have Austin Reeves and Keon Ellis out there. So that's somebody I'd definitely be willing to go after. I wouldn't hate Malik Monk. I wouldn't sell the farm for, like, if we could get Keon Ellis by trading for Malik Monk, kind of like, hey, we'll get you off of his contract type thing, I would do that. I'd be more than happy to do that. Like, if you could get Malik, because like Malik Monk would be great as like that sixth man off the bench for the Lakers, right? A guy that could just get buckets. Lakers, so last year Lakers were dead last in bench scoring. This season they're dead last in bench scoring, but context matters and is important, right? Like all of the Lakers bench guys that would be scoring the basketball are all in the starting unit, right? Because we just have had so many injuries, right? So, like, for example, when LeBron comes back, Rui probably goes to the bench. Jake LaRavia is probably on the bench, right? Like these guys that are giving you, 20 a night, 30 a night collectively, right? Like that's going to go to the bench. But still, it'd be nice to kind of have that guy in a Malik Monk that you can just kind of, self-create, create a little bit for himself, create a little bit for others, be a bucket getter for you, just kind of do multiple things. It's kind of where he got his notoriety from that propelled him into the contract that he was able to get with Sacramento. We do have Nick Smith Jr., which I do think, and I've even said, like, he's very Malik Monk, Lou Williams type to me. But he's also 21 years old. He's on a two-way. He's somebody that is a little inexperienced compared to a Malik Monk. I wouldn't hate I wouldn't trade for Malik Monk straight up, right? If it's like just like, hey, Lakers are just trading for Malik Monk, I wouldn't hate it, but it's not something that I would like run to the door to go do. But I wouldn't hate if you did something where you got Malik Monk and then, kind of had Malik Monk for this year and next year, and then slowly make that transition into Nick Smith Jr. Also, I think Nick Smith Jr. could learn a lot from Malik Monk, especially in that like six-man role, and then kind of have that, have that shift, that change. I wouldn't hate a Dennis Schroeder 12th time reunion, right? Like let's bring back Dennis Schroeder for the 12th time. Because, again, you're talking about another guy that can play either guard position, another guy that gives you athleticism, gives you defense, gives you point of attack, right? So he's a guy, like, I would love, like, especially if you're moving off of Gabe Vincent, right? Like, get off of Gabe Vincent, bring back Dennis Schroeder, have, like, Dennis Schroeder, Marcus Smart, right? Those two guys, or if they start Marcus Smart, right? You got Dennis Schroeder. You'd have, if you can get Keon Ellis too. Your bench could literally be Dennis Schroeder, Keon Ellis, Jared Vanderbilt, Jake LaRavia. Or, if you can get the trade done and keep Rui Hachimura, you'd have Rui Hachimura and then like a Jackson Hayes or something like that. Like that would be fantastic. I wouldn't hate Dennis Schroeder though. Like seriously, like again, it gives you that point of attack defense. Gives you that athleticism, gives you that pest, just a guy that can, be an on-ball defender. He's going to have those nights where he's a little rough, right? But you're not looking for him to be one of your top 5 guys or anything. You're looking for him to be basically your 7th or 8th guy at that point, right? So, if he's having a bad night, you just send him to the bench and just ride with the other guys. If he's having one of those nights where he's just killing it and he's playing like Germany Schroeder, you leave him out there and you let him just cook, right? So I think that is something, another option as well. But then beyond that, I'm kind of good on everybody else, right? Like, you know, I just think Keegan Murray, too much for what he does, right? Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, I'd only take off a buyout. Domantas Sabonis doesn't really make sense for this team. You know, obviously Russell Westbrook. You know, you have like young guys like Nico Clifford, but, you know, I'd rather go for guys that are a little more proven that you can kind of bring in, you know, Dylan Cardwell, guys like that. Like, I think like those are the only guys that get, to me, Keon Ellis is the guy that I'm pushing for. If you have to take on a Dennis Schroeder to help them get off of his salary, or you got to take on a Malik Monk to help them get off of his salary in order to get Keon Ellis, like if that's, because several teams would be after Keon Ellis. But if like your leverage point is like, oh, hey, we'll also take on this, then you do that, in my opinion. All right. So whatever you got to do to make that happen is what you do to make that happen. You go land Keon Ellis. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass a question to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.